Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from the UK. Today is Saturday the 13th of July 2024. Hi, I'm so glad you're joining me today to talk about some knitting. It's been a while, I've just been really busy, which I'll talk about maybe at a later point. But yeah, let's chat about all the things I've made and finished and frogged and all of that. So shall we start with some finished objects? So I am wearing one and it is slightly damp, and also it is quite cold in the UK. So I'm here with my fireside blanket as well, and we'll see if I can leave this on. This is of course my Anchors tee it is a pattern by Petite Knit. What I do is I use the DK Wade sweater pattern. I think it's called Anchors sweater, my size. The one, I think she has a white and a brown sample, and I just use that for all of my sweaters. And if I want to make a tee, I just make shorter sleeves. So it's basically the Anchors tee. And I have knit this out of Rowan Cotton Revive, which was a new to me yarn. It's mostly cotton and 20% recycled fibers, which is interesting. And most importantly, it had like a chain net construction, which I can't show you like this, but it meant that it was quite nice to work with. I really enjoyed it. I used almost 3 balls of it, so a bit less than 300 grams. And as you can see, I think it fits pretty well. I washed and blocked this yesterday and it is still a little bit wet, so I guess I'm blocking it on my body. But I think the fit, because I was worried when I laid it out, I was like, it looks pretty small, but I think it's actually fine. I think it fits quite well. So yeah, I am pretty happy with it. I still have ends coming off it. It's done. When working on this last week, I decided to drag out my other Anchors tee, which I knit out of Drops Saffron, which is is it saffron? It's a regular cotton, not a chain net cotton. And I have discovered that I like the Drop Saffron more. It's just a little bit more drapey and a little bit lighter. This feels quite heavy, like this is quite a substantial fabric. So I may have ordered more Drops yarn, which was very affordable, to make more of my original tees in that yarn. I do like it. I'm happy with it. I love the color. I think it fits really well. But yeah, there we go. But it's done, and I'm happy with it. I have nothing bad to say about the yarn or the pattern, except I do always add short rows for this pattern because I don't understand why there are none in there. So I just added the short rows at the back under the last row of ribbing before you then have some raglan increases as well. You know what? I might get changed because it is quite moist and I'm getting cold already. All right, that's better. I've just thrown on my half and half wrap. I have a couple of these and I just tend to have them around my office, which is where I'm recording right now, so I can throw them on. So they're quite handy, both as a blanket and just as a little shawl. All right, more finished objects. Maybe I should I show you this really quickly while it's not on my body? Not sure if you can tell the texture. It's got a bit, I don't want to say it's got a rough texture, but it's definitely quite substantial in terms of the fabric. I do really like it, don't get me wrong. I don't think this is a very summery cotton blend. Like, it's got some substance to it, but I think, I don't know, with a denim jacket or something on top, on like a cooler summer day, it will be really nice. So yeah, that is my Anchors tee. And I also have another finished object, which is this. And I just finished this morning. There's a long backstory to this. Essentially, remember I was going to do the Color Opportunity sock mystery knit along by Stephen West, and I was going to use these minis, which are from Black Elephant yarn. I couldn't find the perfect contrast color, oops, so I bought this yarn, which is from Yarnsmiths. Just a very affordable sock yarn to try and pair with these for the mystery knit along. And I did go with all of your input. Most of you said to use the navy because it makes these colors pop, which I agree with. So I started after a very, very long and busy work day. This is how far I got until I realized I hate this. I don't want to be doing this, which is in no way saying anything about Stephen West or the pattern. I think the first clue looks really beautiful. But A, the dark yarn was killing my eyes. B, it's on tiny needles. And C, it's the sort of pattern where you really need to knit row by row, and it doesn't, or didn't for me, become logical. Like, I'm a very sort of visual knitter. I like to get into a rhythm. Even with quite complicated lace, I am able to memorize it because I can see what's happening. But I couldn't with this, and I realized I'm not at the point of time right now with what is my busiest period at work to be knitting this in this yarn. I didn't want to try other yarn. So I abandoned this, threw it in the corner, decided I'm not doing the mystery knit along, which again has nothing to do with the pattern, just me. And so I wanted something simple to knit. So I just threw a couple of skeins of yarn that I had like lying around upstairs in my craft room into my bag, took it downstairs, and then after a very long bedtime decided to knit a hat. And this is what I've done. So this is what I needed. I needed a simple, quick accessory, just something to use up some stash, something that didn't require thinking. I think I was watching the Portugal versus France game. And I knit this hat, which originally I thought it might be for me or my husband, but it is more like my kiddo in terms of the size. I was also sort of running out of yarn. So it's going to be a kiddo hat. He tried it on this morning. He's really excited about it. And so what I've done is I have just done a long ribbed tube, and I threw in one row of knit stitches, which if you fold them up become purl stitches to make a sort of nice edging. Threw in some decreases, and there you go. For this I used leftover yarn. If you remember, I was crocheting a blanket out of Filcolana Pernia, which I then turned into a cushion. So I had quite a bit of yarn left, and I do love the yarn. Part of me wants to collect it to knit sweaters, but I decided I can always buy more if I ever run out of yarn. And I just held 2 strands double, as you can tell, to create this marled hat. And I am very happy with it. I think it's very cute. It does almost fit me, and I could block it and it would be okay, but I think it would always be a little bit on the tighter side. So I'm gonna give this to my son, and yeah, that's a finished object. No pattern, but there are a million ribbed hats on YouTube, Ravelry, Google, so I'm sure you can make one up if you or find a pattern for it. And yeah, one garment for autumn done. All right, should we move on to some whips? I have done a fair amount on my linen quill no frills, which is another petite knit pattern. I'm sorry, I know some people don't like her patterns or find them boring. I just use them as a template because I know they fit me well. I already have them in my library, so I just use them over and over again to just play with different yarns and colors and modify and do my thing. So this is theoretically a no frills sweater by Petite Knit, but I've just sort of adapted it. I've added stripes, and as you can see, it is quite crinkled, but I have finished the body. So the stitch marker is where I was last time I showed this to you. And I have started one sleeve. So as you can tell, I did decide to mirror the body in terms of the stripes, and I'm dropping stitches. Partly I decided to just mirror the body with the stripe sequence, so I didn't have to think. Like, I just copy what I already have done. So it's less thinking for me, and I like it so far. So I have this gray stripe to go, and then I've already done the ribbing on my body. So what I think I might do is knit these 2 colors in stockinette as well, and then finish with the light pink for the rib. But I need to just try it on, keep trying it on and see how it goes. But I think yesterday it was about sort of mid-elbow length. Let's have a look. Yeah. So I do think I want full sleeves, or do I? What do you think? I'm leaning towards full length sleeves, but I think it could also be fun in a 3/4 length. And I'm dropping stitches again. Let's just put this aside. Let's fix the stitches. So the yarn that I'm using for this is, like I said, Linen Quill by Pearl Soho. I am using mostly leftovers from my previous sweater that I knit in the beginning of the year with this yarn, as well as I think I used 2 or 3 full skeins. Don't ask me about the colors. I just ordered a bunch. I think my husband gave it to me for Christmas. I caked them all up. I have no labels. But honestly, if you go on their website, you will be able to find the ones. Essentially, I ordered all the pink shades and most of the yellow shades. So there you go. So that is my Linen Quill No Frills. And yeah, I'm enjoying it again. Knitting the endless rib on the body was torture. But I am enjoying it again now that I'm on the sleeves. It's like knitting a sock. And it's quite fun. So that is that. Sorry, I can hear my son roaming around downstairs. I have also been working on my socks. So you may remember, I think I was working on these last time I podcasted. This is yarn that I got for Christmas actually from my sisters. And I was on training for 2 days last week in London. And I did a lot of knitting. So I finished the first sock. And I have just finished the heel on the second sock. So I am, I would say, almost done with these. This won't take me much longer to finish. These are really pretty. I really, really like them. And the yarn that I'm using is a German yarn from Tamiwi Colors in her Tough Sock colorway Burg, which means castle. So just some stockinette socks, and I am very happy with these. And then possibly my most interesting work in progress, at least to me, is my Monticello Wrap. So the Monticello Wrap is a pattern and kit by Blue Sky Fibers using their wool stock worsted base. So it's 100% wool yarn. I haven't used the yarn before, and I bought a kit for this from Tribe Yarns. I have a lot of things to say about this. Where should we start? Let's look at it first. Isn't it beautiful? I love it. I saw the picture on the website and I just fell in love with it. I love the design. I love the colors. It's a long wrap. So essentially you start with some ribbing, which I modified. Then you have some colored lace stripes, which I modified. Then you have a long section, a massive section of this lace for like the middle part, which I think is really, really beautiful, even in its unblocked state. And then eventually we will mirror this essentially. So it'll be a really, really long wrap. I have modified it a little bit because I didn't want it to become too big, and the original is huge. Also, I never follow patterns. I just do my own thing. I can't help it. But I've mostly stuck to it. Each of the sides essentially have these 3 lace colored stripes, and then they have a half stripe in a 7th color. So 3 on this side, 3 different colors on the other side, and then 1 color that you have a half stripe on each side. And I didn't like that. And also there was 1 color in there that I thought was a little bit too dark. So as you can tell, I just haven't done that. I've also played around with the stripes. But essentially everything I've done so far is to make it smaller. So I've cut out sections rather than adding anything. So imagine my surprise when I realized I had 3 cakes of this main color, which is drift or driftwood. 3 50-gram skeins. So I used one, I marked, this is where I finished my first cake of cream. So I figured I have one for the middle section and then one for the end bit, which already in hindsight seems off. But there we were. And then I realized I was definitely going to run out of yarn, because this is how much I have left of my second out of 3 skeins. And I am nowhere near the middle, let alone ready to start this bit again. And I have shortened it. So how is this possible? So I was going out of my mind yesterday, trying to figure it out. And in the end, I have realized that what I should have gotten, according to the pattern, according to Ravelry pages from other people, according to if you go on the US websites selling this kit, I should have gotten 3 150 gram skeins of this main color, which I didn't get. So I checked Tribe's webpage and it says 3 times 50 grams, which I think is just wrong. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So long story short, I don't have enough yarn to complete this project, which is really annoying because this was quite a pricey kit. So, of course, I realized this on a Friday afternoon. So I have emailed them and I really hope that they will be just sending me the remaining yarn, because I also did the maths in terms of the US kit and what that retails for, and it sort of matches what I paid in pounds. So I reckon they must have made a mistake somewhere. This is quite a pricey yarn, so if I had to then spend, I think, an additional 30 quid to get the yarn that I should have been included, would be a pain. So I will let you know what happens with that. But that was very sad because I was really, really enjoying this. I think yesterday, the day before yesterday, I picked it up and I was here. And I just flew through this. I'm really enjoying the lace. I'm really enjoying the pattern, the rhythm of it, the yarn. And I just want to have the yarn to be able to work on this and not worry about it. So yeah, fingers crossed I get my yarn without too many hiccups. Because I love this. I really want to love this. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I've never had that issue before. And just imagine, I basically started this, I think I purchased this in May and started knitting it in June or July. Imagine if I had just put the kit into my stash for a couple of years, then I would have had no chance to realize this, and I would have had an issue much later on. So in a way, I'm glad I picked it up now. And yeah, I really hope Tribe will solve this for me. I will keep you updated. But yeah, isn't it beautiful? I really, really like this. Obviously, it's weird to be working on this in July. But then again, we aren't really having July weather, so oh well. So that is basically all that I've been knitting on this week. I've been knitting on my tee and my hat, which I finished. I've been working on the sleeves of my linen quill jumper. I failed with my sock along, which maybe, I don't know, I think I'm going to revisit it when I see the second clue. And if I'm still in love with it, I may revisit it, or I could always knit it at another time. But yeah, it just didn't feel right. I kept making mistakes. I didn't enjoy it. So we will see. And then this has been giving me a lot of joy. And I have memorized the lace now. So while it looks complicated, it's really enjoyable. I love knitting lace when it's memorizable. So yeah, this is what I mean. Like, this looks difficult, but it has a rhythm to it, so I can knit it without thinking about it too much. Whereas my sock along, I didn't find the rhythm. So I was just reading row by row and making mistakes, and it's like trying to read my knitting, and I didn't really get into that flow, which could have happened if I kept going, but I just didn't persevere. So yeah, there we are on all of my knitting that I've done. I also have a little tale of woe when it comes to my spinning. So I have spun up these mini skeins. This was like a gradient pack of fiber that I bought from Spin Jones a while ago, probably 2-3 years ago. And I decided to finally spin it up, and I decided that I would just spin separate little skeins, which I two-plied, so then I have sort of more control over how I place the colors when I knit with it, rather than if I had made one continuous skein. So I spun all of the singles color by color, and then just did a two-ply of each. This one's falling apart, which is all good. It's beautiful yarn. I really like it. It's about a sport weight two-ply. Of course, I spun it woolen spun from the fold because I'm obsessed with woolen spinning. So what is the tale of woe, you may ask? Well, I used to have 6 skeins. So I had 2 pink skeins, a lighter one, which is this one, and a darker one that sort of faded between this and this. So I washed them all. I laid them out to dry on our little, what do you call it? Like the little hanging thing for the washing. I can't speak English today. I am so tired, you guys. I had about 4 hours of sleep last night because my son isn't feeling well, or wasn't feeling well. So forgive me. And then the next day, when I went to check on them, I could only find 5. So I knew I had laid them out on top of my husband's jiu-jitsu gear. So I assumed he must have just when he put his stuff away, he must have just put a mini skein away. But no, he put it in the washing machine by accident. He doesn't know how it happened. But I found a little circle of just like felted fabric in front of my washing machine, and I was so sad. So clearly this is non-superwash. This is, I think, a merino slash Manx Lofton slash Surrey silk. Definitely not superwash. So yeah, and then there were only 5 mini skeins, which is fine. I didn't have a project planned. I can still make something beautiful. But what a shame. I was quite sad by that. So yeah, 1 mini skein bit the dust, but 5 survived. So yeah, there we go. This is hilariously the only spinning I've done for Tour de Fleece, while I've been watching so much of the actual cycling. But I have placed an order for some more fiber to make more sweaters, which hasn't been shipped yet, but I'm really hoping it'll arrive soon. Otherwise, I may have to just dig into something else. I haven't decided yet. So yeah, that is my spinning, that is my knitting. I mentioned in my last episode, which was sort of more vlog style, that I finished my blanket and another couple of things. So if you haven't seen that, feel free to watch that as well. And yeah, I think that's about it in terms of the yarny part of this podcast. In terms of live, if you do want to stick around for that, to maybe bring the yarny bits first, you may remember that I've been tracking sort of yarn in and yarn out, just to try to at least not accumulate more stash, or if I buy stuff, if I keep buying stuff, to also make sure I'm still using stuff. And for the first time this year, I am officially have less yarn in than I have our yarn out, which is great. So my plan for once is working. I also, the other day, I got a little kick of motivation. I think it was after watching Lynn of, oh my goodness, what's her YouTube? I will link it down below. My lovely friend Lynn in Wales. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Callan Yarns. Hi Lynn. I watched her video where she was going through project bags and deciding which projects to marry or throw out or something. And it motivated me to go through my stash. And I went and I donated about, I think, 750 grams of yarn that I was just not going to use. Mostly leftovers, half skeins, single skeins that I wasn't going to use. So yeah, I got some yarn out of stash, which is always very exciting. So yeah, I've done some yarny housekeeping. I also, not sure if you can tell, but I did clear out my craft room a little bit and got that more organized, which is good, especially with the spinning. I find that fluff just gets everywhere. So yeah, defluffed everything, which is good. Otherwise, what has been going on? Just a lot. My work is really busy because I do some financy bits. So my work has their end of financial year in July. So it is just absolutely bonkers, which also wasn't great timing with me going on training. I have another training on Monday, but at least that one is online. So I can get a little bit of stuff done around that rather than spend the time commuting as well. So work has been kicking my butt. My son has been having all his like transition bits for school. The last of which finished last Thursday, so he did stay in school by himself for an hour, and it went well. So I'm really, really happy for that. And that also means that now we don't have to worry about school until September. So I'm really hoping things will calm down a bit. My son also was ill last weekend, then recovered, and then we don't know what's going on now. So it's just a lot going on, which is why I haven't found time to podcast. And I've had less knitting time than I would like, but I'm really hopeful that that will change. I'm also forever just telling myself that in August everything will calm down a bit. I'm not sure if it will, but I really hope it does, to get just some breathing space really. My husband has booked us a little UK getaway for just a couple of days in August as well. And very excitingly, I'm going to have my free weekend in 2 weeks' time when he's taking my son to Germany. So I'll definitely be doing some sort of knitty videos, vlogs, some kind of footage of that. And I will just be knitting my little heart out. So I am looking forward to that. I think that is the weekend that there is F1 as well as the Olympics starting. So I should have loads and loads of knitting time while just watching my little heart out. So that's all that's been happening today and in the last 2 weeks, 10 days, whatever. I feel like I'm coming down with a cold. My throat is really funky. So I'm just going to stop recording now. But thank you so much for sticking through this. I hope this episode wasn't too discombobulated. I think my brain at this time of year is just completely like I can't function anymore. But hopefully, that will improve soon. So wherever you are in the world, I hope that you are doing well. I hope you are safe. I hope you have some lovely yarn to play with. Do let me know what you're working on. I love hearing what you're crafting on while you're watching or even outside of that. And I will talk to you hopefully very, very soon. Until then, happy knitting. Take care. Bye.